congratulations. You have started your campaigns across the states.
A great pleasure. Thank you.
Well, let's take a look at the chances of your party moving into this electioneering season.
First, I don't have any doubt that SDP is going to be a very key actor, a key player, a key determinant of the outcome of 2023 for so many reasons. One, we followed the entire process for the emergence of our candidates. Two, we are sure of the quality of the candidate we have presented. Recently, two of them were among those that were privileged to be honored by the president among the list of the national award. One, Professor Suleiman, who is a professor of neurology. The other one is a candidate, a gubernatorial candidate in Delta State, former Minister of Education, Kenneth Baggy, and a host of others in virtually all states of the Federation. We did a thorough job. We did a background check on virtually all the candidates we have presented to Nigerians. And we believe if vote is going to count with their popularity, it is going to be a Herculean task for any party to take SDP off the record. It's going to be extremely very tight. At the presidential level, we are proud that we presented a very young man who have no excess baggage, because history have shown that those who have the experience, who have been in position of power, who have been around the corridors of power, that experience have not helped the country. And therefore there's need to have a rethink, how to rejiggle the system, how to bring young person who would dedicate 78 of his time, hours, service to the country without, deferring to his health challenges and so on and so forth. Two, there is not any excess baggage that we will get worried about his past record. Three, he have grab of the issues. Four, he have the energy to drive the country. And it's not just about him. We have credible, capable, experienced hands that can work with him. One man cannot drive a nation. You need a collection of intellectuals, experienced, young, vibrant people to drive a modern Nigeria that we are today. And therefore, in our own thinking, in our own calculation, and also given the statistics by INEC, 76% of those who determine the leadership of Nigeria are the young people, are the youth. And therefore our calculation was accurate, was good, and it fits into the thinking of Nigerians. All we are struggling now is to ensure that we marketed it into the minds of every young Nigerian. That is the major task ahead of us. But in terms of choice, from the president to gubernatorial candidate to Senate to House of Reps, I can tell you that we have done very well. And in terms of performance in INEC, you can check, SDP have done very well. Now, from zero ground to about 12 serving members of the National Assembly right now, that to show you how far we have gone, and we are still moving on.
Okay, does it mean that you fielded candidates in all the positions?
We fielded candidates from the president down to the state assembly.
All the states?
We fielded all.
So your party is not among the parties that do not have candidates in some areas, and no legal issues stopping any of your candidates?
Well, you can't stop some legal issues, but SDP is the only party that have less legal issues among all the parties. And SDP is the only party that INEC have not raised any observation on our submissions or our candidate or record of our candidate. So far, we have not received any letter from INEC. I believe other parties have received letters from INEC. So far, we've been very diligent. We studied the Electoral Act. We navigated the difficult environment or difficult areas. We make sure that we made it easy for both ourselves and the candidate we are uploading to INEC. And that is why it wasn't that very challenging for us. Of course, the system is very challenging. Uploading is very challenging. The network can be very erratic. And sometimes the details of the candidates can be also very challenging before you get all of them together. But we started in time, and that's why we couldn't suffer major setback in all that we have done.
Okay, now in September, towards the end of September, the National Peace Committee called on all the political parties and their candidates, especially the ones in the presidential race, to sign the peace accord. And that action was the very first one in Nigeria. So a lot of persons were expecting that, yes, with this peace accord going forward, we will see peaceful electioneering in the country, we will see peaceful campaigns, unlike what we used to have. But that seemed not to be the case at this time.
Yeah, but who are the determinants of peace? It's not just the political parties that are determinant of peace. It is not INEC that is the determinant of peace. It's the executive. The executive have the monopoly of peace and violence. The executive, the president of the executive, which is the president and commander-in-chief, is the commander of every deployment. The environment is extremely very charged nationwide. In virtually all the zones of the Federation, you will hardly get 3 states that you can say this state are very peaceful. Election can be conducted. I can give you a clear instance. In the entire Northwest, you can only talk about Kano and Jigawa, that you can say relatively there is peace. In the Northeast, you can only make reference to Bauchi and Gombe. Now, in the Southeast is a bubble from one crisis to the other. In the South, is the same thing. Whether it is vandalization, whether it is kidnapping, whether it is murder, and so on and so forth. In the Southwest, yes, some areas are peaceful, some areas are quite crisis-ready, extensively. Now, in the North Central, you can talk about relatively Kwara and Nasarawa states. Virtually all other places are crisis-ready.
They're even attacking political parties in Kwara.
Of course, they are attacking. Even yesterday, when we had meeting with INEC, there are reports of candidate or party being attacked in rivers and other places. Now, the peace accord, in my own thinking, should have been empowered to an extent that they have power to do some enforcement. But organizing a voluntary organization where people will just come and sign and go is a ceremony. As far as I'm concerned, it's a ceremony. Because there's no any enforcement behind it.
So they're not respecting it.
I don't see any respect. If there's a respect, some of the governors that have turned themselves like emperors cannot be issuing orders that are against the law of the country. They cannot turn the state as if it is their personal estate. They cannot say parties cannot function without their approval in a country where you have freedom of association and participation. Now, these are the kinds of things that we've been talking about long ago, that there should be deterrence. In the absence of deterrence, you cannot stop anarchy. Anarchy is inevitable. During President Obasanjo, you have seen the exercise of power, you have seen deterrence, you have seen control by governors who thought that they are emperors, nobody can talk to them. President Obasanjo humbled them and he stabilizes the system. You don't have that right now. Everybody is in the panic. Embassies are leaving. Staff of embassies are leaving. And the story we are hearing this evening that a bomb was seen somewhere.
In one of the states.
In Abuja, justified the alert raised by US Embassy and UK Embassy. And I don't think the country should take things for granted. No responsible leadership should take sensitive information for granted. I could remember vividly during Abacha, I was in Abuja. If your car spoils anywhere, you can leave it and go. Nothing will touch it. Because the magnitude of the security is extremely very tight. It serves as self-warning to virtually all the criminals. But today, what is happening? It is a record that we have produced the highest number of orphans in Nigerian history under the leadership of this president. It is also a record that we produce the highest number of widows in Nigerian history. It is also a record that the number of villages that have been wiped out innocently is the highest in history that we have recorded. It is also a record the number of people that have been killed innocently, murdered, slaughtered. Nigeria have never gone through this before. And the government is yet to admit that something is fundamentally wrong. Yet they can tell you they can reduce the level of insecurity. To what extent? Yes, the number of bombs have reduced. But the number of deaths that we are recording every day have quadrupled beyond counting. There's no single statistic that can tell you today these are the number of people that have been killed so far, because it's so rampant. In villages, some of them you cannot count them. And then there's loss of legitimacy. In governance, once there's loss of legitimacy, virtually everything will go down. Everything will go down. So our appeal to the president and commander-in-chief is to step up. This is the same president that I've said several times, that he wants to leave a legacy of free and fair election in Nigeria. So far, there is no any indication, a possibility of free and fair election anywhere in Nigeria. And of course, when people make reference to INEC is not independent. INEC is independent to an extent that they can deploy sensitive elective materials at the polling unit, if the polling unit is secured. So
how come the INEC chairman is the chairman of ISIS, the security agencies?
Well, all is not exercising his executive power or enforcement. He doesn't have power of enforcement. His responsibility is to brief the security agencies where there are issues.
Okay.
You could remember that INEC offices were born in so many locations. And it is also his responsibility to tell them, in the absence of conducive environment, I cannot deploy election materials. I cannot deploy ballot papers. I cannot deploy personnel. I cannot deploy NYSC students, or NYSC officials. I cannot, because they might be killed. It has happened in the past. So it is a responsibility of joint security outfit to which he is chairing, for him to brief them on the situation in virtually every location, so that they can work on it. Once they work on it, it is certified, then INEC can start preparation of deployment of election material. In the absence of that, INEC is not independent.
So you mentioned Rivers State. What we see today, we see state government bringing out laws, signing executive orders. Zamfara State is there, Rivers State is one. And we also heard some political party chairmen talk about Akwa Ibom, Abia State, Ebonyi State. The story coming out of Ebonyi is also scary. And when these things are happening at this time, you said that your people there's a legal case against your candidates in Rivers State. Is that what it's supposed to be?
It's amazing. It's shocking. A democratically elected governor. And I could vividly remember how Wike came into power, how he was loved, how he was elected. The likes of Peter Odili and others who campaigned for him, who marketed him. An excellent politician, Peter Odili. You have today Wike at the helm of affairs, bringing draconian laws that are completely not in tandem with the democratic practices anywhere in the world, taking over public space to himself, determining how a party will function by his own approval, by his own executive fate. I was shocked, because I least expected that to come from Governor Wike, that I know. I was quite shocked. Seeing him on television, seeing the way he reacts, the way he talked, the way he vibrates, it shocked me. It's not like the man that I know. Any governor should have capacity to accommodate others. Now, he wanted to be president of Nigeria. By implication and by these actions that he is doing, does it mean that if he has succeeded to be the presidential candidate of PDP, he will coerce the entire environment? He will not allow democracy to function in Nigeria? Is that what it means? Because an outgoing governor. And what outgoing governors ought to have done is to show some sort of humility, sober reflection. They are leaving the office. Somebody was there before them. And try to live in peace with everybody. Depart in peace with everybody. But this is not what is going on in Rivers. from one violent to the other. We have written to the security agencies, it is not acceptable. We have also written to INEC. This same state's governor has sued virtually all the parties in River State. He doesn't want any party to function. Just yesterday, he also sued our gubernatorial candidates. He sued our state assembly members. He sued our House of Reps members that the process of the emergence was not followed. And again, he attached the CTC of INEC, who said that primaries was conducted. But he was saying that not at that.
Not contradictory.
Very contradictory. He said that not at the right venue. I don't know who determined the venue. The law says that conducive location. That's what the law says. But you know, the way the judiciary has been compromised over a period of time is one of the biggest threats democracy is facing today. When judges compromises facts, service an individual for whatever material reason, they forget the fact that they will also be a victim of it. Because once you strengthen injustice, it backfires, it follows everybody to the doorsteps. Part of what we are having today, part of this insecurity we're having today, kidnapping, maiming, raping, and so on and so forth, is because of injustice, virtually everywhere. You cannot imagine a very homogeneous people, southeast, killing and maiming themselves. You cannot imagine northwest, people of the same culture, same religion, killing, maiming themselves. It's all as a result of injustice, lack of fairness, lack of equity. So it has nothing to do of any tribe, and it's lack of justice that have created all this, that have perverted our land. So I want to urge Wike, my friend and my brother, that he should try to allow the environment to function in line with the rules and regulations of democracy. Like I've mentioned, I have the great respect for leaders of river states. They are my friends, they are my brothers. One of them, Peter Odili, very close to me. I've known him for years. He's one of the decent men you can talk about. He participated strongly, more than any other person, in championing the emergence of Wike as the governor of River State. And I believe people like Peter Odili should intervene to allow peace to reign in River State. Okay. Anarchy pays no one.
All right, but you had your campaigns in River State on, I think, last Saturday. How did you do that? Because he said before you can hold campaigns in the state, in public spaces in the state, you need to notify the government 2 weeks ahead, and you pay, if you're using the school a field, you have to pay for damages, 5 million unrefundable. So how did you hold that crowd?
That shows you that the law is supreme. The federal law,
so
the electoral act, people came out on the street. People came out on the street. Look, I have experience when we were leading the campaign of Isaguda in Bauchi State. When the federal might was deployed to stop us, they couldn't. When one of the chief security officers was directed to disrupt it, he told them that he doesn't have the bullet to take the sea of heads that are here. The same thing happened in Rivers. There are no bullets that can take those sea of heads that came out voluntarily. And nobody have the money to mobilize such kind of people. Even if you are giving them 100 naira, times it, how much is it? So when you are loved, and that love is being shown, it's clear and it's defined. And this is what Nigeria should expect virtually from all those that are running for governorship. Because we are trying to run away from this anarchy, this crisis that is happening. People that are loved should be allowed to be at the helm of affairs so that peace can reign. Anybody that you impose that have not been elected by the people, the consequences will be unimaginable. Nobody will tell you the quantum of the consequences that will happen, because people are tired. The younger generations that are going to be the determinant of the president to the state assembly are 76% in number. And what you see in Rivers is their number. And you see elders, statesmen of the states, elders that came out also in that rally. You can do a checklist of people that have attended that rally. people that matters even in Rivers, by age, by status, by positions. They were all there. So it's a show of love. It's a show of solidarity. It's a show of that, look, we are together. Justice must be done. It's not about attacking any personality. They did not abuse Wike there. They did not insult him. All that I heard Magnus have said is that, look, it is your turn, the people of Rivers, to determine who will be your governor. And I hope if you vote for me, I'll be the next governor of Rivers State. There was nothing that is violent associated with the rally. And we have not had any report of killings or fighting or injuring anybody. That shows that it's a peaceful love rally that people organize themselves. People volunteered to organize a 1 million march. It wasn't as if it organized it.
Moving ahead, you will still go around the state to do campaigns. And
absolutely.
There's an executive order. So you used the streets on that day. You had to hold your campaign on the streets. I think that was what happened, because you cannot access the public facilities.
Like I said yesterday, when we had meeting with the INEC chairman, the INEC chairman was very clear, absolutely clear. He said the Electoral Act is very clear. Public speech. The Electoral Act says political parties must be allowed to use public space. That is the Electoral Act. It's not a state law. It's not an executive order by the states. This is the law of the federation. Wike is a lawyer, and he knows what it is. And some of them that are doing these extreme behaviors and practices should know that they have few months to leave the office. Somebody is stepping into that office. And whatever you did, you will reap it. So I'm urging all governors that are turning themselves into emperors to calm down their nerves. We fought for this democracy. When we were fighting for this democracy, I don't know where they were. Some of us were detained in 1999. My boss was sent to prison, late Alhaji Shehu Musa, the lack of Sule Lamido, and so many others were sent to prison. Eventually, we succeeded, democracy was restored. I went throughout the Federation of Nigeria. There are virtually no state I have not visited. So for me to see a young person, while the youth are campaigning, canvassing for the future of the youth, for the youth to take over, and people that belong to that generation are decimating the upcoming generation. How do you explain that? Things are being recorded. History is recording everybody's behavior. What I expected from some of them, especially my friend Wike, after losing the election, the primaries, and he considered, he lost it. Otherwise, he could have challenged it in the court as a lawyer. But conceding to it, and then other differences came in between, you should have found a better way to manage it, because the danger of the two parties hitting up the system, it will affect virtually all the parties. Because the two parties are the one running the government. The APC running the presidency, the PDP running governors, senators, House of Reps, the same thing, APC, president, governors, senators, House of Reps. So when you disrupt those lines of operation, you have disrupted virtually all political parties. You cannot afford to conduct anything. INEC cannot even afford to conduct any election. That is the danger. So the reason why I'm mentioning this is for them to understand that history will record them for providing a conducive environment for election to take place. History will equally record them for creating anarchy in the system and that we couldn't hold an election. They cannot avoid it. History will not be kind to them. Let them remember that. That's my message to them.
Okay. Now let's look at the figure released by INEC. For now, preliminary number of voters, 93.5 million. That's what it is. That will go to the polls. But we have had issues with voter apathy in Nigeria. We have even had voters coming out less than 30%, less than 20% to vote. So are you seeing, with the way that the young Nigerians besieged registration centers now, are you thinking that they will also besiege the polling units when election time?
No, I did not expect so. In fact, I expect a large quantum of voters' apathy.
Okay, for 2023.
For 2023. Because of what? Because of insecurity.
Okay.
Unless the government acts very fast and restore confidence on the voters and assure them that their vote will count and they will not lose their life in the course of discharging or exercising their franchise. Once that is done, people feel I can come out, cast my vote and go back my home safely. Then you are not likely to experience voters' apathy. But in the mix of the situation that we are, voters' apathy is inevitable. It's inevitable. Secondly, the biggest threat we are facing is vote buying.
Yes.
It's the biggest threat Nigeria is facing. That can undermine democracy, that can take our democracy down. And it means that we cannot have future election in Nigeria. Criminals can do anything to have access to money, and then they will use that money, they will deploy that money and buy votes. So gradually Nigeria will turn into like a gangster's countries where cocaine and other things are the source of generating money. People do a lot of rubbish. That's the sign of it. So once the president says he wants to leave a legacy of free and fair election, that also includes the ability to checkmate the buy vote system. And this buy vote only function in between PDP and APC, because they are the only one that have those resources. I don't have resources to buy votes. Other parties don't have resources to buy votes. APC have access to public funds. PDP have access to public funds. In fact, the vote buying started from PDP and APC. I could remember vividly from Ekiti State. That's when we had the hype of it.
But are you happy that the EFCC has decided to even push further? About 2 days ago, what they did is to arraign four vote buyers from Osun.
Well, I don't know, because the one I expected really for EFCC to take decisive action is Ekiti State.
Okay.
Where even young girls, mothers, were flinging money.
Yes.
And they are all over the cameras. Money was not used as badly as it was used in Ekiti State.
So who is supposed to prosecute those people? INEC?
INEC also have the responsibility to do that. Security agents have responsibility to do that. If you watched the videos that was tendered in Ekiti State, you will see security agencies standing, people snatching ballot boxes, running away with it. You will see security agencies standing, people were thumbprinting, despite beaver system that was used. And that's why I made the point yesterday in INEC, and I urged the INEC chairman that he should go further in strengthening the transparency of the accreditation exercise. Once accreditation is ongoing at a particular polling unit, at the end of the accreditation, the presiding officers must announce the number of people that have been accredited before the commencement of votes.
But is it not possible for them to even upload the figures of accreditation from the beavers? The beavers is...
Well, it's possible, but you know, we also have to be careful with the danger of hacking that is ongoing. Yeah. Part of the reason why some of us are not intending with completely electronic voting system, because Nigeria is still on a very delicate stage. Even the most sophisticated country on earth are suffering from hacking, not to talk of Nigeria. INEC virtually constantly are suffering from hacking.
But
as an
in the
institution.
case of INEC now, I think they are using both manual
it's both manual
and electronics. So whatever is not connecting or is not on the same number, they drop it. Remember what happened in Osun State? They cancelled a lot of elections because the figure that came out of the beavers as well as the figure of results uploaded.
Yes, because of the shameless outing in Ekiti State. They took correction in Osun State. That's what I'm talking about. Now, if the beavers is anything to go by, vote is going to count. And you are not likely to have voters' apathy, especially if you create a conducive environment where people feel that, look, their life will not be taken off and their vote will be counted. That is the danger. These three things are key fundamental things that both INEC and government must deal with. One, providing a conducive environment for people to feel safe to go out and cast their votes. Two, to ensure that they have deployed sufficient mechanisms, directly or indirectly, visibly and invisibly, to track vote buyers and arrange them and prosecute them. 3, to ensure that every accreditation that have been conducted or to be conducted by INEC at every polling unit, the number of people that have been accredited will be announced there and then.
And the figures will be taken.
And the figure will be taken. So any result that is not in tandem with the total number that have been accredited, the law says it's null and void.
Yes.
It's not me. That's what the Electoral Act says. Even if you tamper with the box, you crack the box, that election or that particular polling unit is null and void. That is how strict it is.
But are you not concerned that political class, even Nigerians, don't respect the law? In section 127 of the Electoral Act, it's written there. If you try to procure or make somebody indirectly or directly by votes, or you give gifts that will even change the mind of the person from either voting or selling votes, it's a crime.
Nobody will respect law anywhere in the world if the law is not being enforced. It will
whose responsibility
the,
is it?
The executive. It's the executive. Purely executive.
Is not doing anything. Is that not
INEC don't have power. They have power to prosecute, but through what? Through the executive, through the police or SSS or other institutions.
And the executive, they are interested.
And the executive are interested party. So these are the complications that we are talking about. You see, government all over the world have the monopoly of peace, have the monopoly of violence. If this government wants to restore law and order, sanity, conducive environment, they can do it. If they don't want to, for whatever reasons, for rumors that have been that saturated virtually everywhere, the government is not interested in an election, there's this thinking of transitional government. If it is anything to go by, and going by the escalation of the security situation in the country, then the alarm is extremely, extremely dangerous.
Okay. Now, before I let you go, let's take a look at the CBN policy. Probably that is just a way to reduce money circulation and also stop vote buying in Nigeria. That's what some persons are saying. CBN is engaging in monetization, changing the currency, and now asking those who have bulk of money in their homes to release them to the banks. So don't you think it's a way to check political activity?
If you could remember, when President Buhari was the military head of state,
he did the same thing.
He did the same thing.
Yes.
But that kills the economy.
Of course.
That kills the economy completely. And he did it without much notice. But I believe this one sufficient notice was given to people who have stole public funds to convert it maybe into foreign currency. It's a simple thing. It's not an intelligent operation. There's absence of intelligence.
And you don't think
when you said it will start by January.
You don't think it's because of the election?
No. If I have money in that quantum of billions, and then the government have already preempted their action. They said, look, by January, I'm going to change currency. If you have money kept, take it to the bank. What does it mean? What signal are they giving you?
They're trying to change the hard currency to soft
currency. It's to convert it.
Yes.
And that's it, because you cannot change dollar.
But that's a way of even checking financial corruption, because if you can't do that by giving somebody cash, you can't transfer the government.
You know, there are 3 stages of corruption.
Yes.
There's cash corruption, there's property corruption, there's interest corruption.
Okay.
We are graduating from cash corruption to property corruption. And that is why some of the magnificent estates and buildings that we have seen, they belong to the government officials, either civil servants, military personnel, and so on and so forth. That is the type of corruption that is running in Nigeria. We are graduating from cash corruption to property corruption. The sophisticated countries deal with interest corruption. They take percentages of interest. So our own, at this stage, we are dealing with a little bit of cash corruption, more of property corruption. People are diverting their cash into property.
Laundry.
And now those
that's
that
a way of money laundering.
It's absolute money laundering. Absolutely. And of course, if the government agencies want to deal with it, they can deal with it. Chief, the executive are the champions of corruption. The executive exacerbates corruption.
Okay.
The executive distribute corruption.
So this policy has nothing to do with the election?
Has nothing to do with it.
So they can't even
Because
stop.
if the president wants to curb corruption, if you curb corruption in the executive alone, Nigeria will be declared a free corrupt nation. In the entire ministries, parastatals and agencies, and you look at the inflations, you look at the contract reviews, look at the quantum of money being injected into it. Even the money that was borrowed, what is the utilization of the money? What will shock you, go into the budget, look at what is appropriated to agencies that are not even non-popular. Billions will be sunk into those agencies. You may not even remember them. But when you go through the budget, you see the billions that are being sunk into those agencies. At the end of the day, nothing will be done. That money will be taken away. Under who? Under executive. Purely under executive.
So do we have a solution to this challenge in Nigeria?
Yes,
for
any
the
president
2023 election?
who wants to deal with the corruption, first you have to deal with the sycophancy, because sycophancy produces corruption.
Okay.
When a leader is being misled, people tell him the wrong things instead of the right things. All the leader can do is to be pleasing them, to be opening doors for them to make money, rightly or wrongly. That is a major strengthening point of corruption. And of course, anybody who committed crime or looted the treasury, those sycophants will go and cover him up. Will go and tell the president, no, it is not true, sir. It's misleading. So, but like I'm saying, in every state, for instance, a governor is in charge of the entire resources of the states. A governor releases money to the state assembly. He releases money to the state judiciary, because they refuse the independence of the state judiciary. They refuse the independence of the state legislature.
And even the local government.
Even the local government, because of corruption. A governor would transfer 1 million naira to a local government. In less than 1 minute, it has been taken out. The documents are there. It's all under executive. Who is deceiving who? If the executive want to curb corruption, they will curb corruption, and Nigeria will be declared a corruption-free nation. There's no single warehouse where politician or any other person have access to go and pick free money. Every money that was stolen went through a process of ministries or parastatals. Every money that was stolen out of this country.
So checkmating this, is it possible that we get good leaders in this 2023 elections that would think of Nigeria, not of themselves?
It's very possible. If you look at history of some of the countries, not too far away, Singapore, for instance, even Dubai, these are one-man vision revolution. Lack of tolerance, complete transformation, people policy-oriented programs, human-face policies. They were driving principles. And you can see the transformations. If you minus 25, 30 years out of Dubai, it's not better than Kano. What of Malaysia? What of Singapore? What of India? Now it's about having a leader who is committed to a decent, responsible society.